and divine, the consciousness, the awareness, the love, which is the transcendent glue of the universe. And to be able to experience that and experience sort of the depth of everything that is, and to share that with others as much as I can, has been my journey that I think has settled in now at this stage of my life.
So, Maetreyii, how old were you when you got into the divine?
When I got into, I was young. I was probably, well, I always had this connection with nature, and when I was little, under 5, running around in nature a lot and feeling very connected to animals and very connected to just the natural world. And then when I was about, must have been about 11 or 12, I started feeling this presence that would come. I would feel like a God presence of a divine being who is so holy, and I just felt this presence would come around me. It was very healing, and I felt I would go on walks, at night in the moonlight, and sit on the porch and feel this sort of presence next to me, this sort of ephemeral being who felt like Jesus or some holy master. It felt like I had that I'd known this being before, even though, I was growing up in a situation where there was no concept of reincarnation, but I felt I had lived in another time and another place, and I had known this holy being. And so it was a powerful sense of presence of divine being. At the time, I thought it must be Jesus, because I had never, ever heard of any other being like that, and I was somewhat young when it happened in my life. But then I turned from that. That was something that happened for some years. And then I got into, I would say, the mid-teens or the early teens, where I really, did what every kid does. I wanted to make friends and be out there and have boyfriends and, do all that stuff. And so I forgot my spiritual friend, and I forgot my spiritual connection. And I did what girls do as teenagers, and made my friends and had boyfriends, and then looked around at churches and became disillusioned, and I think I remember sitting in a church, looking in the songbook and feeling in the church and feeling it empty and feeling like there was nothing there, and just giving up on the idea of God, So I think I went through a lot of this early on, and then it moved on from there.
So, Maetreyii, I want to get into the spiritual friend and connection, because we all have one, right? When we're connected to the divine universe. And we don't talk about that enough. A lot of people might call it imaginary friend, a source that you speak to, when you outspeak to yourself. But we all have that spiritual connection and friend within ourselves when we're truly in the divine, correct?
Right. We experience it in different ways. You can experience it as a universal consciousness, universal God presence, and you feel like this vast, which I experienced later, this vast universal beingness that, where you just, everything just melts together, and you just, and you're in the one, right? It's just the one. But there's also the personal element to that. So the divine, I think, manifests in different ways. Sometimes in this more impersonal cosmic consciousness, which you just sort of melt into the one, and sometimes in a personal form. And they say that, the guru is the embodiment of divine presence. We sometimes think of a guru as a physical person, but that divine presence may embody in a physical person, but it also can embody in an inner guide or inner teacher or inner manifestation of the God consciousness, especially, if the third eye awakens, they say. So the divine guide, the inner guru, comes to you, and you feel that holy presence, and and it manifests in something, in a form that is congenial to you, that you can relate to, because it's a little hard to relate to the cosmos sometimes. So
Well, there's a lot in the cosmos, right? It gets overwhelming. It's like, when you see too many of one thing, you're like, where do I go first, right? It's like picking berries, right? And you have a field of berries. You don't know what berry to pick. So you get drawn to that one single berry, and you're like, that's got to be the first one I pick, and then the second and the third.
Yeah, and so and it's, I don't know if it's as much our choice as the choice of the divine to embody for us in a particular way at a particular time in our lives, and it can change. But the God consciousness, the larger unitary whole, manifests in congenial form for us, for our psyches to relate. That's my feeling anyway, that there's really this presence, and I think a lot of us have connection with that presence, and we may feel it as just a presence, or we may like have an inner dialogue, like consciousness with God kind of thing, or conversations with God kind of thing, where we have an inner dialogue, or we just feel it coming in circumstances in our life, and synchronicities, and things that are going on. But we feel that there is this God presence with us that's guiding our lives, and is having a direct impact on your life. And when you feel that, there's a kind of magic to life. It makes life more alive, more magical, more vibrant, I would say. And then that God consciousness is really in every living being. It's in every person, every plant, every animal, and when you begin to really open up to it, then you see that it's alive in front of you all the time. It never leaves you. When you look, I have a plant in front of me, a beautiful plant. I have plants behind me, I have plants all around.
I was going to say, you have a bunch behind you too that are gorgeous.
Yeah, and so you look at a plant and you feel, oh, this is a living being, a breathing, living being who has its own relationship to everything, and has its own way of feeling itself, being itself, right? And if you're empathic, you may blend into that feeling of that being itself, and you feel, wow, there's this life force connection between us, and you go into the deeper stratum and you see, whoa, this is there's no difference. This is made out of that same consciousness, that same love that is my core, my essence, and that it's just embodying in all these different forms around you. And when you do feel that, life becomes much more deep and much more multidimensional and much more alive. And the divine has ways of guiding us to that. And we each have our own unique path. Have you experienced that the sense of presence, or that sense of guidance?
Absolutely. We have a question here for you, Maetreyii.
Yeah.
Why are we afraid of the subconscious?
Well, that's a really good question. And because in the subconscious, what we call we in Western psychology, we define that we have the conscious mind, which is what you're awake and aware of every day. Then we have the subconscious mind, which is, in yogic terms, that's where your karma, your your reactions to past experience are stored, right? So if you've had an emotional trauma when you were young, that's going to be stored. The not just the memory, but your reaction to that is going to be stored in your subconscious, and we call that karma. And when a karma is stored like that, the Sanskrit word for it is samskara. And the samskara is the reaction to a prior action, something that happened to you that and we have reaction to everything that happens to us, just about, But if it's traumatic or if it's a big deal, we have quite a reaction to that. And we may go on in life and we kind of forget about it, but it's sitting there, right? And that's the subconscious, where you have all of your karma, all of your reactions. And if you believe in past lives, not only to this life, but to past experiences in other lives. And beneath that, you have the collective unconscious. The Jung refers to as a collective unconscious, or the yogis refer to as the unitary whole of being, where our connection to the God self lies, and to each other and to all beings. We're all connected in this collective unconscious. But in the karma, our karma is what drives us into our distorted thinking. If we didn't have any reactions of mind, our minds would be completely clear. We would really see reality for what it is. And I believe we would see our own nature and the nature of all beings as deep love, deep unitary wholeness. We would see the truth and we would be able to live in it. But because different things have happened to us along the way, we have our particular twist, right? Each one of us has our own unique twist on life, which is a result of our karma. So depending on, if I got burned by the stove someplace along the line, well, I'm going to, and I'm kind of nervous about fires and stoves and things like that, right? Somebody else, they're just going to walk up and use the stove. It's just a stove, right? But I may have some fears around that because that happened to me. So that's the kind of thing that karma does. It kind of forms your, it informs your consciousness into patterns of how you relate to things, how you react to things. And part of the process of enlightenment, part of the process of awakening is to clear that subconscious of to be able to be more have more freedom to be really awake and aware and not be bound by these reactions to past experience that bind us into patterns. And we all have those patterns. We all have our shadow material. I don't know of anybody who doesn't have shadow material and doesn't have difficult struggles of one kind or another in their life. This is part of our human condition. But there is a freeing that can happen as we connect more with the God self, with the unitary whole of being, and we are able to clear some of this material so that it isn't dominating us.
So, Maetreyii, we have a comment here. It's reincarnation scars. Have you ever heard of that?
Reincarnation scars?
So it's almost like what you're saying, right? Is the karma is leaving like little scars into our next lives.
Yeah. And our whole identity as an individual is called our basket of karma. All of these things which are built up, maybe lifetime upon lifetime, if you believe that, they've built up to form your uniqueness. You're a unique flower in the garden of this world of of this created universe. Each one of us is a unique flower, but we're caught in our uniqueness too. Our uniqueness can be beautiful, but it's also a bondage of type, because eventually we want to free ourselves to be fully whole, fully connected. You know, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Liz, but inside of you, a deep yearning, you know, a deep yearning for, that creates a kind of restlessness and gets us into this and gets us into that. And we do this for a while and we're like, we feel good about it or we don't feel good about it, but whatever it is, then it's over. And then you're kind of like, now what, you know, and you're on to the next thing. But underneath that restlessness like that keeps us like moving on and doing stuff is, I think there's a deep longing in every living being, I would say, not just people, to find your wholeness, to find your unitary, to loosen the bonds of separation. Because when you feel I'm separate, I'm just this separate person and I'm limited, I'm small, you know, and the universe is big and I have to protect myself and I need to be afraid and I need to find where I'm safe. And it's stressful.
It is. It gets overwhelming sometimes because you get these feelings, right? And you know you've never done that. It's like you talked about the stove, right? Going to the stove, you might have burnt yourself, but that might have been in a past life. But
Past life or so far back in your memory, you don't remember it.
And then
you
you're
know?
like, I never burnt myself, so why am I scared of the stove? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. And so we find these things, and those might be big traumas, you know, even from a past life or from early life that we don't remember or we've blocked out. You know, these things really affect how we are. And so yeah, the spiritual journey, as I see it, is loosening those bondages so that we can be free to be the person we want to be, and we can feel wholeness and work with this fundamental sense of separation so that we can feel our connectedness to everyone and everything.
Maitreyi, I want to get into some of the services that you offer and some of the teachings, because there's a lot of teachings that when I did my research and homework on you and on your book, and that is, I was like, I haven't heard of any of these teachings before. Why do I not hear of these teachings? There was one that I found that was the feminine magicians. Am I saying that right?
Feminine mysticism.
Yes.
Feminine mysticism. Yeah, I
Say
have a
that
book.
5 times, right? That's a tongue twister in itself.
Mysticism, right?
So could you tell me a little bit about that? Because I've never heard of that.
Well, feminine mysticism is sort of working with the spiritual path for women specifically, and how we as women have our own way of approaching connectedness and wholeness. You know, we bring life into the world. We may have more earth connection. Women tend to be very heart-centered, and I mean, it's a very generalization. We're a big bell curve and we're all different, but in general, women, you know, according to studies, are better at connectedness, are better at, because you have to be connected to your children and take care of them, and men are, so there's cultural and somewhat biological different roles that men and women play. And so women, in a way, have their own mystical journey. And so for a lot of women who are very woman identified, it's very freeing to feel that there is a path, a mystical path for women, a way that women can sort of lean into their strengths as women with other women to open their spiritual self.
Well, it's kind of like grounding with Mother Earth, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, above a certain level, we're all on as spirit beings. We're all the same. And if you believe in reincarnation, some people may reincarnate in one life as a man and another as a woman, right? You know, so, but on the physical level, there are differences, and sometimes utilizing those differences to bring your spirit into harmony can be helpful. And so the path of feminine mysticism is about that, you know. And there's a lot of books on it. They may not call it feminine mysticism, may call it many other things, but there's a lot of books about spirituality for women and a lot of teachings on that subject.
Well, your books are called the Spiritual Life series, so you have multiple books.
Yes, I do. The first one is this one, where is it? Into the Heart of the Infinite. And that one is, that's my own personal journey, because sometimes I think we relate better to hearing stories of other people's journeys, and we find the parts that resonate with us. And sometimes that's a better way of opening to spiritual life than just reading about ideas. And so I've shared my story in this and my spiritual journey and what that has entailed and mystical experiences. So, you know, so that people can find their own mystical experience, relating in the resonance with mine. The second book is Living Love, the Yoga of Yama Niyama. And this is the second book in the How to Live a Spiritual Life series.
And so what does that stand for, the Yama
Niyama? Well, they're part of the Eightfold Path of Yoga. They're the Yama and Niyama are the kind of, there are 5 yamas and 5 niyamas, and they're the kind of they're called the yogic ethical principles, but really what they are, if you really look into them and how they operate, they're ways to make your life and the way you are in the world align with spirit so that you can go deeper. So, for example, and some of them are things you've known of, ahimsa, which was used by Martin Luther King and Gandhi, right? They were very into ahimsa, which is the nonviolence. And so that's, you know, to do the least amount of harm that you can in the world, to try to live with not doing harm. And it can be applied socially, it can be applied in your individual life. But it's a motto when you live that. You know, we all do harm. You know, nobody's perfect. If nothing else.
I am so glad you said that.
You know,
there is no perfection on Tea Time. You know, we bring real, raw stories to the table. And, you know, we need to put that message out there that it's okay to be imperfect, you know, because we live in a time where everyone wants to be perfect, and they're not noticing the fails in them that are the main lessons that are pushing them onto a divine experience and journey as well. Because no, I have to do that perfect, I have to have this on time, I have to do, you know, slow down, because you're missing the actual journey of the fails and the falls and the connections. You know, it's like picking those berries, going back to the blueberries again. I guess I need to go pick some blueberries, but I'm going back to the berries. And it's, if you're looking at the whole pot and you're saying mine without focusing on that one berry and saying, you know what, oh, it might be a little crooked, it might be a little smaller than the rest, but that's the one I got to start with, you know? And that's how life is as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. Part of the spiritual journey is learning to really love who you are, love your humanity, and in loving your humanity and going deep in it, feel your connection to the unitary whole, because all beings suffer, all beings have struggle, and you're not unique in it. It's part of the life journey and teachings. of living in a body in this world, and so it's part of being human, and part of being human is recognizing the beauty of your connectedness through your humanity. So
I love that, because we speak of humanity, but I don't think we actually understand humanity, that it starts with us and it ends with us. If we want a better world and we want a better place, then it needs to start within us. We're the ones that can do this. And I'm a strong believer in peace, but do I feel peace is going to be at this time? No, I don't, because we're not even understanding humanity anymore in today's world. We're so busy, and so I gotta get this, I gotta get this, we want more, 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 without even appreciating what we already have, what's in us.
yes, good message. Yes, that's very true. So the yamas and niyamas, to get back to that, they really, that this book is about, they, I don't know how to do this, but
you got it.
but they're really yoga's avenue to living in the world in a way that, it's not trying to achieve perfection, but it is trying to guide your mind. Like satya is truthfulness, right? Benevolent truthfulness. How can you be kindly truthful in the world, and not only out with people, okay, so you tell the truth most of the time, but do you tell the truth to yourself?
Bingo. Thank you so much for saying that. My listeners out there, how Miss Liz is about the truth, and the truth hurts, because nothing grows in comfort. And even our spiritual journey, as you're sharing, Maetreyii, like, it hurts. It's not the cuts and scars need to be there in order for us to have our story. If you don't have those cuts and scars, what journey do you have? It shows that you just existed. You didn't live, and we need to start living within ourselves.
What you said, that you just existed, you didn't live. Living life is living the fullness of life. And coming, working with, like we called about the karma, the subconscious mind, working with that is, they say in the yoga path that something called vira, courage, is needed. Everyone says, oh, meditation is so wonderful. It's going to bring you peace. It's going to bring you calm. Well, that's true. But then as you get peaceful, as you get calm, the subconscious mind begins to bleed into the conscious mind, and your karma starts coming up. And it requires courage to be on the spiritual path, and to face your shadow, and to work with your shadow, to find the deep love for yourself and for all beings, to find the deep compassion for yourself, for your faults and failings, and for others, for their faults and failings. That requires courage to face the inner demons. And that courage, that vira, is something that is essential. And there's a big stage of this. First, you get into spirituality. You learn to meditate and to feel calm, and oh, I feel so good. I'm relaxing. And then you start to, they don't usually put this on the beginner's note on meditation, but then you start to, yeah, then you start to begin to feel yourself. And then you work through that karma. And then you come to the divya stage of meditation, the divine stage of meditation, where you begin to feel this connectedness to the whole. You begin to feel that unitary wholeness, that bliss being comes into yourself, and you begin to realize that under all this struggle and everything, you have an immense, beautiful, fantastic divine nature that is connected to God, that is part of God, that the whole thing is part of God, in fact, and the struggle and everything is part of the journey home.
But
and
Maitreyi, I want to take you on a journey because I asked you to give me one word to describe yourself, and your word was whole, and we're talking about being whole within ourselves. So, why that word for yourself?
I don't know why I chose that word, but I think whole to me means um, integration, body, mind, and spirit integration, and connecting to the divine whole. That when you're connected to that, you're not just this body, you're not just this mind, you're part of something larger, you're part of a whole of being. And I think that whole of being, that love which is eternal, which is the God consciousness, which is the one unitary whole of being. Uh, that's what I love. That's where my heart lies.
I really love that you gave me that word because when I was doing my homework on you, Maitreyi, I could see the whole in your work, in your teachings, in your even your platforms, the way that you speak. It all comes together. It's all whole. It's all one big piece. So you can see the inner work that has been done over the years and through the work that you do. So I that's why I wanted to go and take you onto a little journey because sometimes we have to take the guest onto a little journey and see why they give me these words. But when I did my work on you, Maitreyi, I seen the whole and I wanted to understand the whole. And I just like to take my guests on a journey sometimes as well. Um, so thank you for that. You know, there's a lot of incredible work that you do, and you've been doing this for a long time. Um, you do retreats and all that. So if anybody would like to join retreats or anything like that with you, Maitreyi, or get your books or anything like that, where can they get all
They can
that?
they can go to my website, which is yogama.org. Yogama, YOGAMA.org. You can go to my website. You can also go to my YouTube, where a lot of my talks are put onto the YouTube channel, which is at babatalks.info, is my YouTube. No, that's my babatalks.info is my podcast of it. And then I don't know what the YouTube is called. Uh, I'm sorry. It's Maetreyii something or other, Maetreyii 77, or I don't know.
Well, we're going to get everybody over to the right places. It'll be in the description box when you check out this tea time. But I just wanted to take you on that journey for a minute. Sometimes we get so busy in the thought process that sometimes we just need to pause, right? Um, and you were talking about the whole, and I just found that was the perfect time to ask you about the word whole. So, this is how it works with Miss Liz. And, I get these little taps from my Oma on the back and say, okay, now it's that time to ask, you know. But now I want to get into your tea because you gave me teaching eternal awakening. I want to know why you gave me those 3 words.
I think what is really in my heart, teaching is sharing knowledge and love. Eternal, what is there for me is eternal awakening. Awakening to the eternal consciousness, love, beingness that is our own self, that is yourself, that is myself, that is the self of all beings. That's the self of all these lovely plants I'm surrounded by, right? Nothing is outside of that divine presence. And eternal awakening is, I think, awakening to the eternal, awakening to that which is not limited. These bodies come, they last for a while, and they go. We're all going to leave this world sooner or later in these bodies. But what are we doing here? What are we doing? What is life about, right? Why are we here? And I think that we're here to find our eternal nature, to find our connectedness to, I think our life is an opportunity to find love, not love like I love you because you love me, not transactional love. Yeah.
You know what? I think the word love is overrated. A lot of people use it without even understanding how deep it is. It's like the divine energy and universe. It is so deep that we speak of it, but we truly understand it? And I think until we become whole, like you said, Maitreyi, we're not going to. And that's why we have these lessons and these journeys and these spiritual teachers like yourself out there to teach us and to let us understand it, because maybe we don't know it and we need to take the lessons and we need to take the webinars to understand it. Or maybe we're afraid of it. It goes right back to reincarnation. How many people actually believe in reincarnation? Not everybody does. I do. I believe my last life will be a cricket. I have visions of being a cricket in my last life. So I don't know why, but that's who I'm going to be. And, but I think we're not listening to the whole. We're not listening to within ourselves because we're so full of what's out there that's keeping us distracted from within.
Yes, exactly. We get distracted. And that's where meditation comes in as a practice, to just find a methodology to quiet the mind, to focus on the love, not love and transactional love, but the love like you're talking about, the eternal love, which is part of the nature of our own being. It is the nature. I mean, to me, it's the closest word we have to the nature of our own being, which is this infinite wholeness, this seamless wholeness of being, this it's a fulfillment of who we are. It's like each of us is a little embodied piece of divinity. And we have this wonderful opportunity in life to open that little piece and melt back into the whole, and to find that we've never been separate. We are whole. That's our natural state of being.
So, Maitreyi, we have a question here.
Yeah.
Why do you think the universe has caused distractions?
That's one of those universal unanswerable questions.
Right? Well, the distraction, I don't feel it comes from the universe. I find that that's an outside of the universe.
Well, I think it's all within the whole. The dark and the light, the shadow and the light are all within consciousness of being, within the manifestation of divine presence, into form and into the colors and forms of this mass expression. And, they say in yoga, it's a dance, it's a leela, it's a dance, it's a play. Who knows? Maybe it's just for fun. Who knows?
We need to play more. I just said this yesterday. We need to play, right? It's like the roller coaster in life, right? We need to go up. We need to go down. We need to enjoy the journey that's within us, and finding that wholeness. And I think we all can if we just pause and take the time to look within ourselves. We're so distracted with you did this and you did that and you can fix this. And you. How about you fix me? Fix yourself, like fix within, because we all have those faults. Like you said a few minutes ago, Maetreyii, we're not perfect. We're imperfect. And I think our spiritual journeys are what actually is our life lessons and blessings, and it's like you said, living.
And if we take them to be our journey, and the things that are hard we take as lessons, and we grow and we learn from it, and we take it as opportunity to open deeper. Sometimes pain and real struggle and real loss is what opens people's deepest potential. The journey is not always one of love and light, and I just kind of go higher and higher and higher. It's not necessarily like that. And sometimes being in that raw challenge to the core of your being, and you're in that critical crisis moment, is what triggers transformation. And the spiritual path is the process of transformation, of moving from one level of awareness to another level of awareness, moving from like a two-dimensional flat awareness. Oh, there's a tree. It's just a thing in front of me, right? To, wow, there's this living being. It has this bark. It has these leaves. It has this, it has fluids running. Oh, the tree feels like this about being in life, and it's a shelter for all the little beings around it, including me. And and then, wow, that which is in the tree is the same as that which is in me, and discovering I'm connected to the tree. This is a vital life around me that I'm connected to. And so we have an opportunity to go there or to stay very flat. And sometimes we just keep doing what we've been doing until something happens to kick us out of it. And sometimes that's something pretty intense. It's not always that way. We all have a different journey to follow, but sometimes it can be painful. It can be something that rips you open to the core, so that you start reevaluating who you are and what is.
I really
And
like that you used the tree for an example, Maitreyi, because it's connecting to the Mother Earth, right? The roots of the tree. When you look at a tree and the branches are all like crick and crack, I always wonder, what journey did that tree go through? What storm did it survive through? How many rainstorms did it get? Like winter storms and summer and the heat, and how it cracks. And I, you know, I think we need to really look at trees as a way of life as well, because the tree is within us, how our branches, how our steps, how we overcome our storms and challenges in life. But it goes right back to the Mother Earth, right? It's that connection of grounding yourself and rooting yourself back to life. And right now we have so many people that are living just in existence, that are not actually living. And then when it comes to a point where they're told, well, your life is almost over, then they're like, oh, but I didn't live yet, you know? So let's start getting where we can live within the whole before it's too late, and say, oh, well, I would like an extra 10 years instead of 10 days, you know?
well, part of that, I think, is really embracing your courage to face your shadows and your demons, and to learn to love yourself, and to learn to find the beauty in what is. And that path takes courage. It's because I think it's often fear, what you're talking about, where people are running away and they're just getting unconscious, and they're just sort of living, very unconsciously in life. It's out of fear.
Well,
It's
it goes back to the first question we had at the beginning of the show, right? Is why do we fear our consciousness? Uh, you know, is it really fear, or is it, some outsource that is telling that it is fear, because it's confusing? We might not understand it. We might not understand the journey that we need to take, because we have so many outsources telling us, no, you need to do it this way, you need to do it this way, but our within is saying, no, this is not. It's that intuition, the gut feeling, that something's off, that we're not listening to. We're just like, it's just a little butterfly, we can get over this. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it comes, right? Is the wholeness within ourselves is scaring a lot of us, because we're like, well, is it that simple? Is it that easy? But we try to confuse it, right? We kind of go onto a different path, and we're like, no, this is where we need to go. And then we're like, oh, I should have never did that 5 years ago. I could have went to the left side instead of the right side. And I think that's what spiritual journey is all about as well, right? Is opening those eyes and being awakened. and understanding the eternal, because I think we don't understand the eternal. And I think we need guidance and teachers like you, Maitreyi, to teach us these awakenings. Um, so, what has your teachings taught you about your journey?
Well, that's what I go into and into the heart of the infinite. It's just I got a great deal of guidance from my outer guru, and I got a great deal of guidance. Really, I later met my inner guru, and I met my guru first within, and then met the physical person in India. But I met the guru within first, and that guru still remains as a guiding presence in my life, and it has taught me and guided me. And so I've received this divine grace of guidance. And when I give the Baba talks, I just sort of melt into that, and then I allow that flow. They're not anything I think about. It's sort of a flow from, I don't think it's another being. I think it's higher consciousness embodying and flowing through. And so when I give the Baba talks, the talks are not from my own thinking, but from that sort of higher consciousness that I call Baba. And on that level, Baba means beloved, means father. A lot of teachers, gurus in India are called Baba, male gurus. But my guru, my physical guru, Baba, I felt was an embodiment of that divine consciousness. He had connected to it. And then I had the inner connection with my inner Baba. And I feel that in the inner guru, I have been taught and I have been given the grace of infinite love, and I'm forever grateful. And that teaching, that guidance has brought me to opening up to the wholeness of what is, and the love that's there in all of us, in everyone. And so that's kind of how the journey has unfolded for me, the way the divine has manifested for me. We all have our unique ways, but I think the main thing is if we open inside, and meditation really helps us with this, but if we open inside to divine presence in our lives, and you just make space for that and say, the wholeness of being, the divine consciousness, the divine presence, I'm here, I'm available, I'm here for you, and just open to that divine presence, and notice that divine presence in whatever way it manifests in your life, and cultivate that manifestation by connecting in that harmony and love, cultivating love for yourself and for all beings, and for kindness and compassion to all beings, and deep honesty with yourself. Cultivate that love and that relationship you have to divine being. I think we each can do that, but it is each of us has our own personal unique path within, and the meditative practices can help you to quiet the mind and open that space. But it's also just being available, if that makes sense to you, making yourself available.
Well, it's quieting the mind, right? Being present with yourself and giving your time to yourself to be whole, whether it's 5 minutes or it's 5 hours or 5 days, just take that time for yourself. We're not taking that time for ourselves, and I really want to just thank you for bringing this to the table tonight and having this open conversation, because these are conversations we need more of, being real with ourselves.
These are great conversations.
And I feel that we need to open the doors to be whole, and if we don't know about the wholeness within ourselves and the divine energy and eternal awakening, how can we move forward? How can we move past the scars and that. And it goes right back to that comment of reincarnation scars. It passes through the next life and the next life. If we don't handle it now in the moment, it gets carried on to the next life.
Also, it gets carried on generationally down. The traumas of the get carried on through the generations as well as through your own karmic pattern. So it's best to be with it. And the only way to really be with it is with deep, deep love and compassion and kindness for yourself.
So what final message do you have for everybody tonight?
Love yourself. Open up to divine source. Open up to finding that love in you and all around you. And cultivating your connection to the whole. Cultivating your deep soul connectedness. Open up to it. Do whatever practices you need to do, whatever meditations. But mostly open your heart, open your mind, and notice divine presence around you. And let go. Let go and trust.
Well, I really want to thank you for joining me and sharing this open conversation with my listeners out there. And I want to thank all of my listeners for tuning in and, sending your questions and your comments and your quotes. I really do appreciate those as well, because it brings a deeper conversation with my guests when you take part and you ask those questions. Because I myself learn as you learn with my guests, and my guests learn sometimes from all of my listeners as well. So thank you for that. Um, you know, this year has been really a spiritual journey for Miss Liz and for my guests, and you'll see that in all the upcoming guests. There's a lot of spiritual walking that we'll be doing this year together. And let's hope that we can open that wholeness and bring a difference. Maitreyi, I want for anybody that would like to know more about you, again, read out your website and spell it out for the audio listeners, and
Yeah.
we'll get you out there for everybody.
Okay, it's maetreyima.org. Or no, I'm sorry, it's yogama.org. Sorry about that. That used to be my website, yogama.org. It's yogama.org, yogama.org.
Well, thank you so much. And before we let you go, we're just going to say thank you again. And if you have any upcoming events or retreats that you'd like to get out before we wrap up, you could share that now as well.
Well, I have a Saturday morning satsang that I do once a month, and we have a meditation that we do on Monday mornings, and you're welcome to come to that. And I will be soon doing some more webinars, but for now, the Saturday morning satsang is there, and you're welcome to write to me. Join my mailing list. Get on my mailing list. I have a monthly newsletter which goes out to everyone, and there's spiritual teachings in it and events and everything. So sign up for my newsletter and stay connected.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll see everybody on August 5th with a rescheduled tea time. Fern Brady will be in the house, and she'll be sharing her books and Inkling Publishing. We're going to talk about that and all that good stuff. And then on the 7th, we have 2 other guests that are coming in with their TEA. So check out Miss Liz's Facebook page and the press releases that are on all social media platforms. And you can see the lineup that we're going to be having this month in August. And thank you, Maetreyii, for starting off August. You are my first guest of August 2024. So thank you for that. And I will see everybody on the 5th at 7 p.m. with Fern Brady. We are doing an evening tea time. So until then, keep serving your teas, keep being true to yourself, and let's make a difference one cup of tea at a time.
Wonderful to be here.